Hi, welcome to Crafting at Home with Tully. My name is David and today we're going to be making a special craft for Chinese New Year, which is on the 12th of February 2021 this year. Very exciting. And we're going into the year of the ox. So we're going to be making these really cool little ox paper tube creatures, and they're really, really easy to make, but they're also super fun. So first things first, to do this craft you'll need a few different things. So let's put this to one side. You'll obviously need a cardboard tube. You could use one from Loo Roll or from a kitchen towel roll, or if you don't have one of those, just get a bit of card and roll it into a tube. Next thing you'll need is some paint. So I'm using some red, got some white just in case, I've even got some black just in case I need that as well. But it doesn't have to be red. Red's a very lucky colour in China, but it doesn't have to be red. It could be any colour you want it to be. You'll also need some wool for the hair. I'm quite lucky, I have some really good sticky eyes. But if you don't have those, don't worry. You could use paint, you could use pens, so I'm going to actually grab some pens anyway, just in case I need them. Now I'm already filling up my station here, but you also will need some scissors. Make sure, especially if you're using ones like these, you ask for a grown-up's permission to use them, or a grown-up's help. Now, when you're painting, you'll also need a little tub of water just to wash your brushes off, and of course, some brushes. Now I've got a nice wide one for painting and a little one like this for a bit more detail and stuff like that. The last thing you'll need is some card for bits like the horns and the nose. Now, first thing we need to do on this is obviously clear the deck and get some different bits and bobs out. So I'm just going to pop all these bits out of the way. And we're going to start with the tube. So like I said, I already have a tube that's good. But what I'm going to do is, if you have a look at this one, I have the legs cut out. Now you'll notice I haven't cut out in the middle here. That's just because if I cut out there as well, it would make it really, really flimsy. But I'm sure at home you could find something like a cocktail stick or just some thick card just to put in there to make it a little bit stronger. So I'm going to work out, I think my front legs are going to be somewhere around here. So I'm going to cut a nice big gap here. Just there. Don't worry if it's not too neat, because you can always neaten it up. It's always a little tricky, especially when you're cutting something round. So I'm actually going to neaten this little edge up just a tiny bit and snip there. So that's one bit done. I'll go into the other side and do the same. And cut a nice big archway. So that is now the basis for my ox. Now I'm just going to do one thing to check that it stands up after I've cut that last little bit off. So I'll pop it like that, and there we go. It stands quite well. So that's perfect. Now we get to the fun bit. We need to paint this. So I'm going to paint the entire body red. Now I'm quite lucky. I have some special paper as well that is called palette paper. So it's really good for painting with. Now if you don't have any of this, don't worry. I'll often use like a plastic lid or something like that, just so I don't get paint on the table too much. So this is actually really useful because it means I can blend the paint and stuff like that. So I'm going to start off with a nice blob of red, just there. And I'm just going to get straight in with my big brush. Just make sure that it's all teased out. I'll pull my water over as well, just to make sure I've got it. I'm going to get it a little bit damp. Just wipe it off on some paper towel. And then, there we go. Oh, look at that. That's a lovely red colour. So I'm just going to paint the entire thing red. Now what we're going to do is I will keep painting this and I'll come back to you when the painting is done. I'll see you in a few moments. Welcome back. So As you can see, I have now painted the tube a nice red colour for the arcs. The next thing we need to do is to paint on the hooves. So, I've already put a little bit of my black paint out, ready. I'm just going to mix a teeny little bit of water in, just to thin it down a little bit. I'm using my smaller brush for this, because I can get a little bit of better detail. So I'm just going to go on this one first. All I need to do is a little hoof, like that, and just fill in that gap. There we go. Perfect. And I just do the other one here. That's 2 hooves. There we go. Just get a little bit more black paint for this one. And just curve it round again. There we go. And one last one. Just here. Curve that around. Perfect. So I fill in that gap there. It'll look like a hoof. And there we have it. So these will take a little bit of time to dry. I would suggest leaving it that way for just a short amount of time, just in case there's any paint on it. If you're putting it on a table, I'm obviously putting it on a mat, so that'll keep it a little bit safer. So I'm actually going to turn mine over now, so I can show you what to do next. There we go. I'll just pop my paintbrushes over here to dry, and I'll move my paint out of the way because I don't need it right now. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is start sorting out the other features. So I'm going to do the horns first. And for that, I'm going to grab a nice bit of card. Now obviously you can draw the shape you want your horns to be. I'm going to do it freehand just because I quite like the mystery involved. But if you want to do it, if you want to draw it on or sketch it out or anything, go for it. So I'm going to just start cutting from here. I'm going to do some really big, tall horns. Like that. Now any bits that you've cut off, just pop them to one side and get them recycled later. Always a good idea. And I'll do the same with the inside. So these are tall horns. There we go. So that is a really interestingly tall set of horns. Now I am going to use this in a couple of seconds, so I'm just going to pop that there. So, to pop the horns on, you just need your glue stick, or you could even use Pritt stick or sellotape or things like that as well. I'm going to put a nice bit of Pritt stick on here. It'll take a little bit longer to dry than normal because the paint doesn't quite like the glue sticking to it, so it'll take a little bit longer to dry, but it will hopefully dry on quite well anyway. So I'm just going to hold that there for a second while it sets. And it might peel away a little bit, but that's looking quite good already. Now the next thing I need to do is sort out the nose. So you can see on this one, it's got a wee nose and a little mouth there. So I'm going to use the inside of my bull's horns to make that. So I'm going to do a nice big nose for this one. I'm going to use quite a bit of this. There we go. So that's going to be the basis for my nose. Now, how you do the nose on is up to you. You could use paints, you could use pens, whatever you have to hand. I'm actually going to use a felt tip pen because it's a little bit easier sometimes than painting on and it dries a lot faster. So you do a big nostril and another big nostril. I'm going to do we'll have it being a happy bull, so it's going to have a nice smile, this happy little ox. There we go. So that is going to get stuck on just here. Just about there. It's going to be a really nice big nose. So that's the next job, is to stick that on using the glue. Make sure as well, obviously I'm sure you all know, But when you finish with your glue and things like that, pop the lid back on so it doesn't properly dry out and things like that. Because no one likes a dry glue stick. Okay, so that is now nice and gluey on the back. I'm going to fit it on. And this will take a little bit longer to dry than some things, but we'll just hold it on and let that dry. The next thing I'm going to put on is the eyes. So once this is dry, we'll get the eyes. There we go. Oh, it's starting to peel away a bit. Oh dear. So I'll just have to hold that on for a little bit longer. And then it'll be all right to stick the eyes on. Now then, I'm quite lucky. I have some sticky eyes here. But if you don't have sticky eyes, you can always paint them on or make them out of card and things like that. So I'm going to put them, one here. It's getting quite a squished in face, but that's okay. And one here. And you'll notice that this is pulling away again. It's not too much of a problem. I'll put a little bit more glue on there as well, just to hold it on. And if it starts pulling away and the Pritt stick isn't holding it, it might be time to bust out the PVA glue, or if you have access to one and you have a grown-up's permission, you can always see if you can use a hot glue gun instead, which will just secure it on really, really well. I think I just didn't put enough glue on that side and this side to just secure it properly. I think that should hold it this time. There we go. So now I have the ox, and it looks lovely like this. It looks really quite sweet, but I think it needs a little bit of something else. So I'm going to get some wool. I'm going to make some hair. Now, if you don't have wool, don't worry. You could use red paper and make it all frilly. You could just draw it on if you'd prefer. There's lots of different ways to do it. I am going to use, like I said, I'm going to use some red wool. Doesn't have to be the same size. It can just be various sizes. Just little bits that are snipped off. Now, if you've got PVA or a hot glue gun, you could put glue on the inside and bend it over. The Pritt stick, it doesn't really work that well and it takes a long time to stick. So I'm actually going to use some sticky tape to do this. So I'm just going to get a little bit of sellotape that we'll just cover over there. And that'll be plenty of size, and we'll just grab a few of these bits of wool, stick them along it. Put some smaller ones in there. Make it a bit like a fringe on this lovely ox. Like I said, obviously I've been using a lot of red. You don't have to use red. You could use any colours you want. Now I'm going to just carefully stick this on. There we go. And it's got a fantastic fringe. It's totally covering one eye. That was my fault. I should have put it slightly more to the left. But, you know, I think it looks quite good. I might just sneakily add a little bit of sellotape and this just to there, just to make it look a little bit more. There we go. That's a bit better. Now that is your little ox, and it should stand up nicely. So I really hope you've enjoyed making these. And I hope you are able to join us sometime soon for another episode of Crafting at Home. Thank you very much.